I wrote the concept for a story a million years ago about how there is like a stream that flows through the under bits of reality, and that's where the memories of everyone who's ever been alive are. And being able to like reach down into that stream and pluck out a person's memories from there makes it such that everybody suddenly forgets about that person and it's as though they've never existed. I didn't know that that was kind of a thing that we already had in terms of the river Leth, which is a river that flowed through the underworld through the cave in which Hypnos lives. Hypnos. Sounds like a Pokemon, but totally isn't. He's the god of sleep, and today we're going to talk about him. So the word Leth, Lethe, I'm not quite sure, is one of the 5 rivers of the underworld of Hades. It is the river of forgetfulness. So anyone who drinks from the river completely loses memory of everything. Which now that I'm thinking about it, yes, I remember that being a thing in quite a few pieces of media too, not just like old Greek myth, but like it's showed up in cartoons and video games and such recently as well. So I mean, shoot. Anyway, Lethe is also the personification of forgetfulness, and there is a Greek spirit of forgetfulness, which is also called Lethe. I suppose it makes sense that those two things have the same name. Actually, this bit's really cool. Apparently, there were some mystery cults who taught the existence of a parallel, similar river to the river Lethe called the river Nemesis, which the river Lethe is supposed to make you forget everything, and in order to be reincarnated as a spirit, you are supposed to have drunk from the river Lethe so that you forgotten all of the things that happened to you in your previous life, and you were able to blank slate into a new body such that you didn't remember any of the old junk and it didn't weigh you down or anything. But according to these other religions, if you drank from the river Nemesis instead, then you remembered everything, knew things that you didn't know before, and basically became omniscient. They taught basically that when you die, you're given the choice between drinking from the river Nemesis and drinking from the river Lethe, and that you should pick the right one. I was actually going to start this video about Morpheus, who is the winged god of dreams and can take human form in dreams and all this other stuff. Of course, he shows up in a lot of really popular things like Neil Gaiman's Sandman series. He's the Sandman. But I came across Hypnos instead when I was doing research on Morpheus, because that's a thing. Morpheus is actually one of Hypnos' sons. One of Hypnos' 3 sons, actually. There's Morpheus, who's the god of normal people dreams. There's Phobator, who is the god of like nightmares and freaky dreams, and he can like turn into tigers and bears and junk while he was haunting your dreams, I suppose. And then there was Phantasos, the like god of fever dreams and like weird illusory fake dream kind of things. And so the 3 of them would basically go out and mess with people. They would send people dreams through a series of 2 gates, one of which was ivory and the other of which was horn. So there was a white gate and a black gate, and they'd send dreams through these gates to people, and depending on which gate it got sent through, it was a good dream or a bad dream or whatever. But in order for any of that to happen, first, Hypnos had to put that person to sleep. So apparently Hypnos, like his job was to put literally every person to sleep when they went to sleep, which is a lot of work. Hypnos lived in the cave where he lived next to his twin brother Thanatos, who is the death personified. Yeah, I would definitely want death right next to sleep. Because what if they get confused one day? Their end goal, their end result actually looks similar enough that I would not be surprised if they'd screwed some stuff up once or twice. Hypnos' mother was Nyx, who is the deity of the night, who was so scary that Zeus would not go into the realm of Nyx. Zeus being the father of the gods, the big guy, and he was scared of this person. It was like, no, I'm not going in there. There's no way. It's not going to even happen that way. No, thank you. He had a wife named Pasithea, who was the youngest Grace, and was given to him like as a promise by Hera, who, of course, is the goddess of marriage and rebirth. Birth, not rebirth. Pasithea is the, like, goddess deity of hallucinations. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So basically, he's just surrounded by people who are related to the dream state and the dream world. So the story basically goes like this. Hypnos had at one point been used by Hera to trick Zeus. Hypnos put Zeus to sleep while Hera messed with Heracles. While Heracles, who is Zeus' son, was sailing home from something, and he made a bunch of really extreme winds happen, and it was terrible. When Zeus woke up, Hypnos was like, "No, fuck this! I gotta leave. I have to hide because if I don't, Zeus is gonna murderate me." So he ran and ran and ran, and Zeus was gonna catch him until he went into Nyx's realm. And Zeus is like, "Okay, fine, you caught me here. But the next time I see you, I'm gonna pummel you, you little kid." It happens again that Hera comes to Hypnos and is like, "Hey, I want you to help me." And this is during the Trojan War, when all of the gods hated each other because everybody wanted someone else to win, and it was super, super dumb. But so Hera comes up to Hypnos and is like, "Hey, Hypnos," and Hypnos is like, "No, I remember what happened the last time that I helped you out, because you were the one that made me do it last time, and I'm not falling for that again." And she's like, "But Hypnos, I'm really hot." And Hypnos is like, "Yeah, but I don't really care for you at all. I mean, I know that you went and saw Aphrodite and got her to give you a love charm that'll make you so that, like, Zeus falls in love with you immediately, and you've bathed yourself in oils, and you've got a bunch of earrings on and all this other stuff. This is all canon, by the way, bathed in oil, lots of earrings. But I don't care." And she was like, "I'm in Hypnos, I thought you liked me. Come on. What if I give you," and I swear this is true, "what if I give you a big chair that will never fall apart, and a footstool to go with it, and they'll be made of solid gold?" Like, there had to have been a period where chairs were just falling apart so severely that the fact that this chair would never fall apart was important enough for her to include in this deal. But he's like, "No, screw that. I don't want Zeus to murderate me again." And she goes, "Okay, well, what if I let you marry that girl you want to marry? That'll be your girl, and you'll be able to marry her, and she will be yours completely, and all of that." At that point, Hypnos is like, "Okay, fine, I guess, because you're literally offering me the only thing that I really want to have right now, and I know that you have dominion over that thing. I'm gonna call literally every god of the underworld so that we can have you swear in front of them that I'm gonna be able to get this girl, and then I'll help you out." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, cool, that's fine," or whatever. So Hera, who'd been given this charm by Aphrodite, and had basically stuck on like a bunch of perfume and other things that'll make Zeus hot for her, it was telling people, like, "Yeah, I'm going to go talk to Zeus so that we can stop the war, so that, we don't have to fight anymore." But really what she's going to do is she's going to make it such that while Zeus is asleep, Poseidon, who is Zeus's brother, can go and help the Danaans win the war by virtue of Zeus being asleep and therefore not being able to help the other side. Hera shows up and is like, "Zeusy boy, how's it going?" And Zeus is like, "Excuse me, what are you doing here right now? Why are you here instead of Olympus, where I know you normally are?" And she's like, well, I came over to see if we could maybe stop the war. Like, I want to go and tell the people that are doing the war to stop, but I wanted to let you know beforehand so that you don't get mad." And Zeus is like, "Pheromones. Lots of earrings, because apparently that's what my thing is. She's bathed in oil. Hey, Hera, you could do that whenever you want, but why don't you hang out here for a little while and we can enjoy each other's company, if you know what I'm saying?" And Hera's like, yeah, totally, that's fine. Hypnos, go. And Hypnos is like, sleep. And they both fall, or Zeus falls asleep on Hera's lap, and she pets his head for a while, and then Hypnos runs over to Poseidon and is like, Poseidon, do your thing. And Poseidon's like, and goes out and messes with the people that are on the opposite side of the Danaans. That's basically where the story of Hypnos in the Iliad ends. Hypnos is no longer in the story, and it follows Poseidon going to go help the other people for a while. Fortunately, Zeus never found out again that Hypnos was the one that had tricked him, because if he had, Hypnos would probably have been ground into a fine powder and used as snuff. My favorite author of all time, Howard Phillips Lovecraft, wrote a story called Hypnos, where he describes a man who can't sleep, shouldn't ever sleep, and if he does, bad things will happen. So he's gonna write down the story of everything that led up to where it is, before he goes mad. Which is a thing that happens in a lot of Lovecraft stories. The first couple paragraphs are like, this thing is happening, and it's driving me crazy. So before I actually go crazy, I'm gonna write everything down so that you can also go crazy later, even though that's literally the opposite of what I want. So if I wanted you to not go crazy, I shouldn't write this down, but I have to write it down because I'm crazy. Anyway, so the story basically goes that there's this gentleman who's never had any friends before, and he meets this person in, like, a railway station. I saw your eyes just now, and I know that you're gonna be my friend now. And the other guy's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So they start hanging out. The main character is a sculptor. So he basically brings this guy over to his house and sculpts him. Like, he just makes a statue of this dude. Like, every day he works on this statue of this guy. And then the guy is like, okay, well, since you're doing that for me, I'm gonna show you some cool things with my superpowers. And he starts bringing him into, like, weird, strange alien worlds, as is commonplace in the Lovecraft mythos, via means of sleep. So like they'll go to sleep and they'll go to these places, and they're places that are like beyond the ability to explain to a human. So you had to have been there, man. They go off on this thing one day, and there's like a void, and there's all these barriers that they had to pass through, and they keep passing through these barriers and passing through these barriers, and then there's one that the main character can't go through, but his companion does. So the main character is like, that's really weird. So he opens his physical eyes, like the eyes that he's not using at that time, because of course they're in some sort of weird dream world, and he wakes up, and so he sits there and waits for his friends to come back. And when his friend finally does, he basically just goes, oh, we can never sleep again. Oh god, we can't ever sleep again. That's a terrible thing if we were to ever sleep. So they start taking drugs to not go to sleep. Every time they accidentally fall asleep, they age rapidly, and they have terrible nightmares that obviously they won't explain because they're beyond the scope of the human brain, or whatever it is that they say. And they just, it's terrible when they sleep, so they just keep taking anti-sleep drugs. You know, caffeine and caffeine and caffeine and caffeine. And it's probably cocaine is probably what they're doing. The narrator is sitting there one day just like staring, and he realizes that that friend of his had fallen asleep, and he goes, oh crap, no. And it was a quote-unquote deep breathing sleep, from which he was impossible to be aroused. And he goes, ah crap, no, this is terrible, this is terrible. The narrator faints, and when he wakes up, he's surrounded by like neighbors and police who had come on the grounds of him doing his weird screaming, so terrible, like shrieky a lot. He wakes up and he goes, oh god, how is that friend of mine? How is that guy? And they're like, what are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. You've never had any people in your house. You've only had this creepy statue that you've apparently been working on which has been engraved the word Hypnos. Ooh, the end! And apparently it's one of his like best pieces of writing that Lovecraft has ever done. I don't think so. I honestly think that Hypnos is not his best writing. But if you want to read it, I will link it in the comments because it's in the public domain. You should read everything that's Lovecraft because Lovecraft is amazing. I wish that I could use Lovecraft stuff in the Deity Salad thing, but unfortunately they are all not really like folklorish folklore. They're just things that had been used in this mythos. I don't know, maybe that counts. In fact, you know what? It counts. I've decided. That is a pop culture reference that Hypnos is in. Obviously, the Pokemon Hypno and its pre-evolved form Drowsy are based off of the idea of the deity of sleep. In fact, Drowsy looks like a tapir because there are cultures that believe that tapirs will eat your dreams, which is where we get the Pokemon's attack, Dream Eater. And then, of course, Hypno is straight up just Hypnos without an S on the end of it. And he uses the hypnosis thing, which hypnosis is another word that comes directly from Hypnos. Apparently, there is an Italian comic book series called Witch, spelled W period I period T period C period H period. Wherein 5 young girls get magic powers and have to be guardians of the veil, whatever that means. But in this series, which also has a TV adaptation, as it turns out, they talk about the Horn of Hypnos, which in actual mythology is a horn full of opium that he just goes around with. Talk about a party hard god. Basically, he uses opium to put people to sleep. Hypnos uses opium to put people to sleep. I want to say this one more time. Hypnos uses opium to put people to sleep. So in Witch, the Horn of Hypnos is like a mystical object that turns victims into these sort of like zombie trance marchers, as they're called. When you become a trance marcher, you know only like how to follow orders the best that you can. You lack free will in general. It's basically like you're sleepwalking, which, okay, that makes sense, what with it being the Horn of Hypnos. This would be a cool object to have in like a D&D campaign where you could use it and it would be basically just a high level sleep spell every time you used it, but it would have to recover by bathing it in starlight or some junk like that. I think it would be a cool item, and anyone who wants to use it for a D&D campaign should feel free to do so. You just have to design it yourself. So, I've been sick. I had the flu. Like, real bad kinds of flu. I was having hallucinations and couldn't keep my brain straight, and it was terrible. It was really bad. I probably should have gone to the hospital, but like a fool I didn't, but that's also just because I'm a fool who has no money. So I apologize for it being so long since the last time I recorded a video. Like, I intended to record a video 2 Saturdays ago. And then I just didn't, and then I got sick, and it was bad. So, this is the next video in the series. This one is going to be, A472, Sleep. Thanks for watching my videos, you guys. You can click on wherever it is on the screen to see the previous video. You can also see the next video by clicking on the bit of the screen that is labeled next video once I put it up, but as of this recording I don't have it done yet. But click on it anyway, maybe something will happen. Um, Thanks for watching and all that. I'm gonna put up a Patreon for Deity Salad in the coming near future, so hopefully I'll be able to use the money that I get from that to get better camera and microphone and things, such that I can just make better videos than what I've got right now, because I'm basically using like an old webcam and a busted ass microphone. Which I at least have like a microphone arm stand thing now, which is super cool. But anyway, yeah, so thanks for watching. Click on some of the other stuff, because you know you want to, and you know that I want you to, and that should be enough to make you do a thing. I don't have a horn full of opium to try to hypnotize you with, but do it anyway.